patrolling around with these Phoenix, hoping to catch a few Overlords. Let's check out the Overlords. Looks like they are all on top of the Spore Crawler, and he needs to get out another Queen here. If we look at the production tab, a number of Hydralisks coming out as well, and he does have Spore Crawlers in each of the mineral lines, so he will try to get up and running with his economy once again. He is only at 42 workers, but at this point that has eclipsed the worker count of SLiDeR. So SLiDER spending all of his minerals on army at this point, 2575 compared to the 1300. We do have a scouting roach coming up. He is going to be seeing the Zealots here and the one Colossus of SLiDER. SLiDER now working on these rocks, perhaps to establish a third, as these Phoenix are still patrolling. We see 6 kills, 2 kills, and 5 kills, but some of those kills were against those Queens, and that will knock down the macro game of MorroW until he can get those Queens up and running again. Looks like we have a ton of roaches coming out, 10 roaches, as well as missile attack level 1 about to finish for MorroW. And looks like a Queen is up and running at each of these bases, so he will be able to get his macro game going a little bit here now that he is on these 3 bases, and SLiDER is just on 2 bases. No longer patrolling with these Phoenix, could be doing more work on these Overlords and harassing the Zerg player. It looks like instead he is going to take this Observer and start taking care of the creep that MorroW had so dutifully laid down early in the game here. So SLiDER undoing a lot of this hard work. MorroW wants to get in here and try to pick off some of these Zealots before the Colossus notice him, as we have a number of good force fields trapping a few Zealots, or a few Roaches in the front. The Zealots are going to be able to take those down, but the majority of the Roaches still are in the back here. And now 8 Hydras on the way from MorroW. So he does not want to engage until those Hydras pop out. He does have these rocks down, so we will be able to move along this creep quite easily. Trying to pick off a few Zealots at the front. One Roach being picked up by those Phoenix, and now the Zealot numbers are quite low, so it is mostly Stalkers at this point, as well as a few Sentries with a bit of energy, and a few Colossus as well. So the Stalkers doing their best to focus down Overlords, a bunch of Overlords going down here. Looks like MorroW will soon be side-capped. Great force fields, going to keep the Roaches and the Hydralisks at bay, but they are streaming in from both directions now, focusing down those Colossus first and foremost. So all the Colossus are down, and now hoping to finish off these Stalkers. We have 50 more Roaches coming from MorroW at this point. The Phoenix doing their best to pick up these forces, picking up a Hydralisk or 2 and a Queen. So that Queen is retreating, and now we have drones pushing forward to try to take down the last few Stalkers, Overlords as well. So MorroW lost a ton of units in the exchange there, all of those Roaches and a bunch of Overlords, but SLiDER did lose his entire army. A few Colossus went down, and now MorroW going to be gearing up for an attack. And it looks like with the cannons here and the Stalkers and not having the creep, the Roaches are going to be retreating here. Roaches quite fast on the creep, but again, once they're off the creep, the Stalker is able to kite them a little bit and do a lot of damage, kiting away from the Roaches. Looks like the Queen coming up here trying to lay down more creep tumors, as the Observer and those Colossi and Stalkers are able to take down a number of the creep tumors, but MorroW knows that that creep is going to be paramount, very important for a victory here. And SLiDER knows the same thing, trying to take down these creep tumors best he can. And not much happening for SLiDER at this point. He's on very few harvesters, just 37 right now on these bases, so not very good saturation. He's all mined out in his main, so he's just off the 1 base. MorroW about to get up a 4th and a 5th base. So his income will be skyrocketing, almost double right now with the 73 harvesters compared to SLiDER. So SLiDER needs to do damage with this army. He does have a 3100 army compared to the 2500 of MorroW, and he also has the tech advantage with this tier 3. So if he can kite with these Colossi and keep them in the back and keep MorroW from being able to focus them down, he can do a lot of damage to these Roaches and these low HP Hydralisks. Only 80 HP on those Hydralisks, so they do go down quickly with these +1 thermal lances of the Colossi. But once MorroW gets up this 4th base at the gold, his production will be much larger than SLiDER's, and he could push forward here. Looks like going to be using overlords to spread creep, but these Phoenix are going to do their best to take those down. Now we have a number of force fields catching a few roaches, not too many here, just 4, going to go down to the units of SLiDeR. Looks like we have a third base being established by SLiDeR at this point, getting a cannon to try to fend off any sort of Zergling or roach pressure, and a transfer coming as well. Still the 37 workers. Now the forces of MorroW are moving into position. They are off the creep, but doing a good job getting a nice concave going with these roaches. Many of the Hydras are not able to attack in the back here, but for the most part they are still in the good concave at the start, or at the front. And we have more roaches pouring out, 12 at the moment, and 9 Hydras coming for MorroW. So MorroW needs to pull back a little bit, might have overextended himself against those Colossus. Was able to take down a few of those Stalkers and get a number on low shields and HP. But now needs to pull back and wait for all these units which are about to pop. Again, looks like it had about 11 more roaches and 8 Hydralisks coming out for the army tab, 3,300 to 2,900, and MorroW really wants to fight on the creep here. Now going to get all the way in up against these Colossus so we can focus those down very quickly. One goes down, second one about to go down. Good job by SLiDeR moving to the high ground here. Zerg does have a Overlord up here, so we can see the high ground Colossus. And all this force field did keep those roaches at bay for a while, but the roaches are just so powerful against these Stalkers. Trying to focus down this last Colossus. Not sure he's going to be able to do it with these very few roaches that he does have. No longer has sight on that high ground as well, so the Colossus was safe. Now second Colossus coming in, trying to focus down the Queen of MorroW, but more reinforcing roaches, forcing down the one Colossus there, trying to take down its buddy as well. That Colossus will go down. More roaches coming as well, so MorroW flexing that economy as all these roaches now pushing in against SLiDeR. 1275 to 750 if we look at the income for both players. 94 harvesters for MorroW. 2,200 minerals per minute. SLiDeR's only at 1,000 minerals per minute, and his army is smaller as well. We see these roaches coming in, able to pick off these few sentries. This force field's doing nothing, and SLiDeR having to GG. So it looks like MorroW was able to take this one. He did repel the early cannon pressure in his natural. He chose to get out another base in what is usually the third or perhaps even the fourth for the Zerg player. He was able to take down those destructible rocks and did a good job of spreading creep as well. So that's something that you really need to do as Zerg if you're going to have the second base much farther from your main and you're not able to grab that natural. And then we had the proxy Stargates as well for SLiDeR, doing a good job, doing a ton of damage, but MorroW was just able to stay strong there, and he was on 2 bases at that point. He had a little bit of a spread there that might have actually worked out in his favor, as the distance between the 2 bases was quite large. He was able to throw down that Hydralisk den, get up a Spore Crawler and a few Hydralisks, so SLiDeR was never able to touch this base here. And then MorroW was able to deal with that Phoenix harass as well. How many Overlords did those Phoenix take down? Quite a few, but MorroW was able to macro up at the end off these 4 bases, and SLiDeR just did not macro up, did not keep creating probes, did not get on this third as quickly as he should have. If we look at the probe count, 104 to 37 at the end. So SLiDeR did have the advantage at the start, but was not able to press it. He did have a good tech change here with the robotics facility in Bay, as he knew his opponent was going for Hydralisks and for roaches, but he was just not able to keep up with the huge macro and the economy of MorroW. So interesting to see MorroW dealing with all that early harass and the different strategies, the cannoning and the Phoenix, and that's something he will have to continue to do and learn as he continues to play this Zerg race. So I will be interested to see how he does this week in the upcoming tournament over in Europe. So part of the reason I was casting these games was a preview of that. So hopefully he does well, and I will bring you more games of his and the other top pros on my channel, StarCraft at youtube.com. Check me out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.